Aurora St. Clair expected the worst when she was forced to move across country in the middle of her junior year. Desperate to leave her shattered home the moment she turns 18, her plans are disrupted by the godlike Maddox twins. Aurora doesn't understand the deep attraction she holds for the twins and ignores them at every turn. Thrown into a world she knows nothing about, Aurora's demons come back to haunt her, making her question who or what she truly is. Will Aurora run from the secrets of the past? Or will she accept her role and take control of her destiny? We pulled up to the rickety old house, and I felt a twinge of excitement that echoed within the sea of melancholy I had been feeling lately. The house was by no means new or luxurious, but it was much more than I had anticipated. We moved from California, where we had a 2-bedroom apartment in the worst part of town. Walking to work each day had become a constant nightmare. While I was thankful to move, I couldn't help but expect the worst. That I've lived with my mother and her husband for 3 years now, and to say I hate it is an understatement. I was raised by my amazing grandmother for most of my life, but unfortunately she died a few years back. The only other relative able to take me in was my mother. Melissa, she insists I call her, as though I'm just some child she found on the street. Melissa and I have a non-existent relationship, which means she pretends I don't exist and I stay out of the way. Issue lies in her husband. Frank likes to drink far too much, and when he does he becomes a complete asshole. I keep my distance from Frank when he's been hitting the bottle too much. We just moved all the way to Georgia due to a job offer Melissa had gotten. Frank could hardly hold a job, so Melissa paid most of the bills. Typically, I worked part-time. I used my money to buy the necessities that Melissa refused to provide. The new house was much bigger than I had expected. It looked pretty old, sporting chipped white paint and a crooked porch jutting out from the front of the house. The only thing I was looking forward to regarding our cross-country move was finally having my own bedroom. My bedroom in California consisted of me hanging a curtain to block off the unused dining room. Frank insisted he needed the second bedroom as an office. I climbed out of the car and stretched, slinging my backpack over my shoulder as I walked to the front porch. I could hear Melissa and Frank already begin to argue, but I had learned to successfully tune them out. The front porch creaked and groaned under my feet, but I didn't mind it. Frank only ever stepped outside to run to the liquor store, so I would have plenty of time to myself on the porch. Melissa opened the front door and stepped inside behind Frank. I wasted no time heading upstairs to my bedroom. The smallest room, Aurora. Don't forget it. Melissa reminded me, not that I could forget. I went upstairs and looked around. Instantly, grateful I had a bathroom close to my bedroom. I felt a smile form on my face when I peeked in Melissa and Frank's room. They had their own bathroom connected to their bedroom, which meant Frank would leave me alone for a change. Frank always pushed his boundaries with me when he was drunk. He was smart and never did it while Melissa was around. I had a constant air of caution when I was around Frank. He had gotten handsy a few times, but when he was drunk he was easy to escape. I walked into my bedroom and looked at the paint peeling from the walls. Once I managed to find myself a job, I could make this room a little more presentable. I had a small fund saved up since I was old enough to get a job. While I was a straight-A student, I needed a backup plan in case I didn't get a scholarship. Escaping this place the moment I turned 18 was constantly on my mind. I dropped my backpack on the floor and looked around. It was a small room, but it had a working door and 4 walls. A rickety queen-sized bed sat against the far wall along with a dusty oak dresser. I ran downstairs and grabbed my large suitcase from the trunk of Melissa's car, struggling under its weight. Melissa and Frank were still arguing, but that gave me plenty of time to wrestle my suitcase to the top of the stairs. Everything I needed fit comfortably in my suitcase. I didn't have many clothes, but I had grown used to that sad fact. I stuffed what clothes I owned in the dusty dresser, pulling out an outfit for school tomorrow. Melissa had wasted no time enrolling me at the local public school. Anything to get me out of the house and out of Frank's thinning hair. I stuffed my debit card in my back pocket and ran downstairs. Melissa had her back turned to me, bickering at Frank as he set up the small TV in the living room. "Where do you think you're going?" Melissa snapped, turning around to face me as I opened the front door. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes at her. She never cared where I went before. "I'm gonna go find something for dinner." I shrugged. I had stopped eating dinners with Melissa and Frank a long time ago. The court had made Melissa my legal guardian until I turned 18, so I refused to give her any of the money I worked for. Instead, I supported myself to the best of my ability. "Get me a 6-pack while you're out." Frank snapped. His beady eyes narrowed at the hazy image on the TV. I gritted my teeth together. This man was an idiot. "I'm 17. I turned on my heel and walked out the front door. Ignoring Frank's mumbling, I walked out onto the main road inside. I had no idea where I was going. My eyes flickered left and right a few times before finally deciding to go right. All I needed was a gas station. I could get myself a bag of chips and a bottle of water and call it a night. I walked down the main road for maybe 15 minutes and sighed with relief when a small corner store came into view. That was one thing I'd miss about California. In Cali, you could walk in just about any direction and find a gas station or grocery store. I walked into the poorly lit corner store and said hello to the cashier, a girl not much older than myself. I grabbed a bag of chips, a couple bottles of water, and a granola bar and walked over to the register. Hi, do you know where Westlake High School is? I asked the girl as I swiped my debit card. She had to be in her early 20s. Her hair was jet black, but she had a stripe of green running through it. The girl nodded as she pressed some buttons on the register. Sure do. Just follow this road until you reach the traffic light and turn left. You won't be able to miss it. She nodded. Thanks. I gave her a small smile as I took my receipt from her hand. The girl looked up from the register. You new around here? That obvious. I chuckled. I haven't seen much of the town, but it was clear that it wasn't the largest. The girl nodded, a small smirk playing on her face. Town's pretty small. Most of the people in town have houses further out in the woods. She shrugged. As if it were nothing new, I furrowed my eyebrows. It just sounded strange. Why not just live in town? I dunno. People around here seem to like their privacy. She shrugged. I left the corner store feeling confused and a little wary. The girl didn't give me much hope for school tomorrow. If this town really was small, there was no way I'd go unnoticed. This was the middle of my junior year. Once I finished the rest of this year, I only had one more to go. One more year and I could finally escape Melissa and Frank. I woke up to the sound of my old alarm clock. It was 6 in the morning, leaving me with plenty of time to get ready and walk to school. Melissa would already be at work, and Frank typically slept in until 11 a.m. or later. I crept out of my bedroom and into the bathroom, making as little noise as possible. Frank was an absolute nightmare if you woke him up. I went into the bathroom and combed my long chocolate brown hair. Everyone on Melissa's side of the family had extremely light blonde hair, making me stand out even more. I also have this rare condition called heterochromia iridum, making my eyes 2 different colors. While my left eye was an incredibly light blue, my right eye was a deep chocolate brown. My grandma would rarely ever speak of my father, but when she did, she would mention he also had the same condition. I had a feeling that was why Melissa didn't like me, my own mother. Something bad happened between her and my father, resulting in him leaving the 2 of us behind. Grandma would always receive a mysterious check every month, always written out for me. The minute I moved in with Melissa, she began receiving the checks too. The only difference was she used them for herself and Frank. I looked in the mirror and frowned. I constantly felt like a walking abnormality. While I had friends at my old school, there were always kids who bullied me for my condition. It took me a long time to accept that part of myself and find it beautiful. I slipped on a simple and inconspicuous outfit. A simple pair of skinny jeans, a white tank top, and a black jacket. The point was to blend in. I grabbed the granola bar that I bought yesterday and left the house. I followed the girl's instructions and was happy the school wasn't too far of a walk away. My walk took up half of my time, and by the time I made it to the school, the parking lot was nearly full. Students hopped out of their cars and headed to the front doors. Chattering and conversations filled the air around us. I merged into the crowd of students and tried to blend in. My first stop was the office, which I managed to find quite easily. A large sign hung from the ceiling pointing out the small office. Well, hello, dear. A plump woman in a purple sweater smiled at me, her rounded glasses hanging low on her face. Are you new here? I nodded at her and gave her a small smile. Aurora St. Clair. I had been given my father's last name as a child, and while Melissa insisted I change it to Frank's last name, I refused. Beautiful name. The woman smiled, rifling through a bunch of papers. Here you are, Ms. Aurora. She smiled up at me. Thank you. I smiled back at her and turned to leave the office. I was looking down at the class schedule she had given me when I slammed into someone. I would have thought it was a brick wall if it weren't for the strong smell of cologne. My bottom hit the floor with a thud, and the hallway quickly became quiet. I looked up at the person I slammed into and my jaw dropped. Standing in front of me were 2 very large and very angry twins. I had never seen 2 guys who looked the way they did, as if they belonged on the cover of a magazine instead of at a high school. The 2 of them had jet black hair, strong jawlines, and extremely dark eyes. They were both extremely muscular, but held that athletic slimness in their body. One of the twins had his hair shaved on the sides and back, but long on the top. The other twin had hair down to the top of his ears, but it had that messy look that other guys try and fail to achieve. Each one was drop-dead gorgeous in their own way. One of the twins had a tall blonde clinging to their arm. An incredulous sneer formed on her heart-shaped face. What the hell is wrong with her eyes? The tall blonde sneered, looking down on me like I was a piece of trash. I hardly glanced at the blonde. My eyes kept flickering to the 2 godlike twins standing over me. They glanced at each other, as if they were having some silent conversation. I stifled the urge to roll my eyes, but my mouth replied without warning. It's a condition. Fucking freak. The blonde spat, Watch where you're going next time." With those last words, the severely attractive twins and the tall blonde walked away. The twins hadn't said a single word to me, and I wasn't sure if that was a good or a bad thing. The look in their eyes was cold, and I had the sinking feeling I was looking into the eyes of my new bullies. Staying to myself was already proving to be a nightmare. I picked myself off the floor and somehow managed to find my locker. I couldn't help but scan each hallway. Some small part of me wanted to see the twins again, to let my eyes roam them once more. After a stern conversation with myself on blending in and not drawing attention, I continued to avoid them at all costs. My first class had neither the gorgeous twins or the mean blonde girl. The teacher pointed me to a seat in the back, and I plopped down next to a girl with large glasses and curly red hair. She gave me a small smile and told me her name. "I'm Tori." The curly redhead smiled at me, and I returned it with a small smile of my own. I cleared my throat and glanced around at the nosy students around us. "I'm Aurora." "Whoa, awesome name." Tori nodded as she doodled on a piece of paper. I shrugged. "My father picked it out. My dad wanted to name me Charlie." Tori gave me a look of horror and I giggled. "Your eyes look awesome, by the way." "Thanks." I smiled. Getting compliments on my eye condition seemed to be rare. My childhood friend had the same thing, but only in one eye. Tori grinned back at me. I spent most of the class talking to Tori and trying to subtly ask questions about the godlike twins I had quite literally ran into. "Oh, the twins." Tori blushed as she scowled down at her paper. "Cade and Alec. Which one is which?" I frowned. Their names seemed to fit their bad boy personas perfectly. Tori frowned. "I always get them mixed up, but I'm pretty sure the longer-haired one is Alec and the other one is Cade." "Oh, okay." I nodded. As much as I wanted to, I couldn't get the two of them out of my head. The way they looked at me was cold, and it made me feel strange. Yet I continued to think about them. I wouldn't mess with them if I were you. Tori shook her head. "They sleep around, a lot." Wasn't planning on it. I shook my head. I promised myself then and there that I wouldn't get involved with the twins. Not that they would ever go for someone like me. It seemed like they were into the glamorous model-type girls anyway. I was the complete opposite. I tend to stick to myself, and most often than not I was completely clumsy. Tori and I made plans together this weekend while we made small talk. She told me how she works at this restaurant in town and even offered to get me a job as a waitress. She told me she'd give me a ride after school tomorrow to interview at the restaurant. "It's not fancy or anything, but it's the fanciest we have in this town." Tori shrugged. "You get decent tips though if you know how to be flirty." I chuckled. "I have no idea how to be flirty." I was definitely worried about working as a waitress. My clumsiness seemed to increase the more nervous I became, and the last thing anyone wanted was a waitress spilling drinks all over them. "You'll learn. It comes with the job." Tori shrugged. I felt as though I were having a lucky day. When I walked to my next class and saw Tori sitting in the back, we spent the next class continuing our conversation. "The people here really aren't all bad." Tori smiled. "You'll survive with no problem as long as you avoid Grace and her friends." "Grace?" I frowned. "The blonde girl who hangs around the twins." Tori replied, and finally I could fit the name to a face. Grace was the supermodel-looking girl that called me a freak. What a great start. I think I already blew that one. I frowned. Tori shuddered. "Just completely avoid the twins from now on. She's with Cade at the moment and she's super possessive." I was more than happy to take Tori's advice, but it seemed my luck had finally ran out. My next class held both of the twins. They sat by themselves at a large square table. My heart nearly fell out of my bottom when the teacher told me to sit at their table. As I was walking towards the back, my foot hit the leg of someone's table and I nearly fell to the ground. I managed to catch myself in time and ignore the snickers from other students. With my face burning and my stomach doing flips, I sank down at the twins' table. I avoided all eye contact with them until I could get my thundering heart under control. I could feel two sets of eyes burn into me and I let out a shaky sigh. I turned my head and met the gaze of both of the twins. The two of them were sitting across the table from me, their dark eyes boring into my own. Sitting this close to them was both a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing because I had a much better look at them. They were so much more intoxicating up close. Cade was the slightest bit more muscular than his brother, but their faces were nearly identical. Full eyebrows followed by long eyelashes and plump lips. As I sat there in silence, I tried to choose between the two and it just wasn't possible. The two of them were equally incredibly attractive and I simply couldn't pick. "Oh look, Cade." Alex smirked, his voice tinged with amusement. "It's the little girl with the strange eyes." I could feel my voice catch in my throat at the sound of Alex's voice. It was deep and rough around the edges. Cade's full lips turned up in a smirk, while his cold eyes roamed me. "This is the girl Grace was talking about? She's the one who didn't watch where she was going." Alex smirked at his brother. They were both talking to me and about me. Like the incredibly alluring and smart girl that I am, I sat silently and tried not to gape at them. The two of them knew how attractive they were. It was completely obvious. That didn't mean they had to act like assholes. I was beginning to regret my strange and instant attraction to the twins. I hadn't noticed. Cade sneered and I held back the urge to flinch. As much as Frank berates me when he's drunk, you'd think I would be used to it by now. For whatever reason, what the twins said actually bothered me and I found them much harder to ignore than Frank. Doll is trying to ignore us. My heart jumped at what he called me. I couldn't figure out if it was an insult or a compliment. The way they both looked at me scared me and enticed something deep within me. Ignoring us will only make it worse for you, sweetheart. Cade stared into my own eyes. His dark ones felt hot on my skin and my heart continued to jump at the names they called me. I wasn't familiar with the game they were playing. Borderline bullying, yet calling these names made it sound like they liked me. I scolded myself for actually thinking they might like me. Why would I of all people draw the attention of two godlike twins? I continued to ignore the twins. And Cade was right. It was most certainly worse. The entire class, they continued to make comments that pushed my buttons. I wasn't sure if they wanted a response from me or some kind of outburst, but I wasn't giving it to them. They made me do all of the work myself, including the project that was supposed to take a week to complete. I wasn't sure which class was worse. The class I had with the twins or the next class, the one I had with Grace and her friends. My next class featured Alec, Tori, Grace, and the rest of her friends. I was lucky enough to sit by Tori the entire time, but Alec continued to smirk and pester me. I could tell from one look. Grace absolutely loathed me, and that wasn't going to change anytime soon. The more attention Alec gave me, the angrier she got. Why she was concerned with her boyfriend's brother was beyond me. Somehow I managed to get through the rest of the school day. Each day only consisted of 5 extremely long classes, and I was unlucky enough to have both of the twins in 2 of those classes. My last class of the day was gym. Gym class was always hated to begin with, but knowing I had it with both of the twins only made it worse. I was naturally uncoordinated, and feeling the hot gazes of the twins only made it worse. Luckily, I was able to sit out until they found me an extra uniform. Knowing I would officially start gym Monday put a huge knot in my stomach. An entire week passed before I fully realized it. Frank was as bad as ever, but I did my best to avoid any confrontations or handsy grabbing on his end. The twins continued to torment me, both managing to upset me and leave me confused. Grace and her friends escalated from petty glares and snickers to full-blown mean comments. Tori and I became closer once I was hired at the same restaurant she works at, a little Italian place in the middle of town. I had even made a new friend in one of my classes, an athletic girl named Autumn with sandy blonde hair and large blue eyes. My first weekend in Georgia began, most of which I planned to spend on working. After getting myself school supplies and food for the week, I had a lot of money I needed to make up. I wasn't sure if things were looking up or slowly settling down. And you're sure you don't mind? I sighed, looking at Tori with shameful eyes. Rolled her eyes. Of course not. We work the same days anyway. I just have to come in 30 minutes early. Tori shrugged. When Tori found out I planned to walk 30 minutes to and from work, she insisted to giving me a ride every day. I wasn't used to people wanting to help me, so the gesture made me feel like crap. Let me at least give you gas money every week. I frowned, fidgeting with the tight uniform we were forced to wear. While my Saturday was spent completing the project Alec and Cade refused to do, today was Sunday and my first day of work. The first half of the day was rather slow, but the people in this town seemed to tip well. I seemed to fare well, only spilling things on myself rather than everyone else. I was thankful the uniforms consisted of a black t-shirt with the restaurant's logo and a pair of tight black slacks. All of my spills were unnoticeable on the black shirt. My chocolate hair cascaded in waves down my back. Tori and I stepped back inside the restaurant. Our 30-minute break had just ended. I peeked my head from the kitchen doors and looked out at the restaurant. It was around 5 p.m. and there were a lot more people coming in the front door. My shift ended in 2 hours and I was counting the minutes until I could fall right into bed. My heart nearly stopped when Cade and Alec came through the doors with Grace and another beautiful girl. I felt a strange sharp pain radiate through me at the sight of them with 2 girls, but I shoved that deep down. Now wasn't the time for my stupid conflicting feelings. They approached the hostess and I audibly groaned when she placed them in my section. Cade and Alec looked even more delectable outside of school. Cade wore a black sweater rolled up to his elbows, a pair of dark jeans, and some black boots. Alec wore nearly the same thing, but he had a leather jacket thrown on top. I caught myself gawking at them and scolded myself. The last thing I needed was to go all doe-eyed and play right into their game. I watched in confusion when Cade's eyes scanned the room, stopping when he noticed my head peeking out from the kitchen doors. A smirk formed on his perfectly chiseled face when he caught my eyes. "What's wrong?" Tori frowned, peeking out the door. I sighed. "Cade and Alec, of course. I don't know what you did to get on their radar, but I feel for you." Tori shook her head with a sad chuckle. I grimaced down at my hands. "I didn't do anything. I ran into them one time by mistake and they decided to make my life hell. I tell you to go to the principal, but they seem to have everyone wrapped around their fingers. Tori frowned at me. I sighed and quit complaining. They wanted a reaction and I refused to give them one. I wasn't interested in playing their games. All I needed was to hold out until I turned 18 next February and I would be out of this little town. Do you want me to wait on them? Tori asked. I shook my head. Nah, they'll never let me live it down. I let out one more sigh and chuckled when Tori gave me 2 thumbs up and an encouraging smile. Here we go. I mumbled to myself. I could feel all 4 of their eyes on me as I approached the table they sat at. I plastered a fake smile on my face and kept my eyes on the girls. I wanted to look at the twins as little as possible. Grace sat alongside Cade while Alec had a beautiful raven-haired girl on his side. Hi, I'm Aurora and I'll be your server today. I nearly grimaced as Grace shot me with a sneer. Can I get you anything to drink this evening? Aurora, what kind of name is that? The raven-haired girl snickered, causing Grace to let out a nasal laugh that I kept my smile in place and stared at the two. I'll take water, Grace sighed, but I'm going to need something a lot stronger if I have to look at your freaky eyes for too long. I couldn't fathom what was so freaky about my condition. Was it really that weird to have 2 different colored eyes? Rare yes, freaky no. Having 1 brown eye and 1 blue, I made it nearly impossible to find a color that suited me perfectly. Inconvenient? Definitely. I couldn't help but glance at Cade and Alec, almost grimacing at the stupid smirks that were on their faces. The twins ordered sodas, while the girls ordered water. I practically ran from the table and helped 2 others in my section. Finally, I rushed to the back to grab them their drinks. Before I could run back out, I was stopped by Tori and one of the cooks. Kyle, how's it going with the twins? Tori asked, a frown playing on her lips as she glanced out into the seating area. I rolled my eyes. Always pleasant when dealing with them. Who's always pleasant? Kyle appeared beside me and draped his arm over my shoulder. I felt myself stiffen. Kyle was one of those guys who flirts with every girl he sees and has absolutely no concept regarding personal space. I laughed at the number of times Tori had to tell him to get away from her in one afternoon. I never thought I'd be on the receiving end of his attention. Kyle was definitely attractive. He had sun-kissed hair that swooped across his head in a Superman-type hairstyle. His nose was sharp and spattered with freckles. He looked like a surfer in Cali rather than a cook in Georgia. Why do you feel the need to put your grubby hands all over everyone? Tori huffed, placing her hands on her hips while she stared at Kyle accusingly. Kyle smirked and tightened his arm around my shoulders, and I could feel my face turn red. All right. I swatted him away, feeling much too warm at the moment. Kyle smirked and walked back to the kitchen. Jealousy doesn't suit you, Tori. Vermin. Tori sneered at him, shaking her head. Her red bouncy girls jostled with the sudden motion and resembled a lit flame that I never had time to be interested in boys before. I was too young to notice them when I lived with Grandma, and when I moved in with Melissa, I was too busy taking care of myself. Grace really has it out for you. Huh. Tori shook her head. I pouted. Seems like it. I grabbed their drinks while I still had the chance and tried to still my breath as I approached their table. I nearly cheered when I managed to make it all the way there without spilling anything. I set their drinks in front of them. As I went to set Cade's drink down, his hand flicked forward at the same exact second. The glass of soda tumbled over, spilling onto the table. My voice caught in my throat when a smirk formed on his full lips. His dark eyes twinkled mischievously as they burned into my face. I apologize for that. I kept my voice as polite as possible. I'll clean that right up and grab you another. I pursed my lips as I pulled out a rag and mopped the soda up. I couldn't help it when my eyes flickered across the table. I'd have to get close to Cade to clean that. Much closer than I wanted. Don't be shy, sweetheart. You made the mess. Cade gave me a sly smirk and watched the heat rise to my cheeks. I could feel the butterflies swarming in my stomach, and my heart nearly pounding out of my chest as I leaned across the table. Cade's face was inches from my own, and I could smell the husky cologne he was wearing. I had never smelled something so intoxicating before. It was earthy and husky with just a tiny bit of sweetness to it. It had me wondering what Alex smelled like. Why do you smell like cologne? Cade demanded in a low voice, causing my eyes to snap up to his own. Cade's eyes flickered over to Alec, and both of them looked at me with the same demanding expression on their faces. Confusion and disbelief formed on my face as I processed what he was saying. I felt myself stammering for a response, unsure why I even wanted to give them one. I don't see why that matters, I murmured, butchering almost half the words as their eyes gazed at me with a strange intensity. Eager to get away from the intense and borderline angry glares of Alec and Cade, I rushed back into the kitchen for a replacement drink. You all right, Aurora? Kyle stopped me with a sandy eyebrow raised. I huffed. Yeah, Kyle, I'm fine. I grabbed another drink and sped from the kitchen, desperately wanting to be anywhere else. I placed the drink down in front of Cade and felt relieved when it wasn't knocked over. "Is everyone ready to order?" I asked, my smile much more forced this time. Cade and Alec's mood seemed to drastically change. Neither of them were looking at me with their patented smirks, and quite frankly they both looked pissed. I could hear Grace's nasal laugh from across the dining room, as well as the glares from the twins thrown in my direction. The rest of my shift went as expected. Grace had at least 60 things wrong with her salad that needed replacing, while Cade and Alec directed little insults my way that I grinned through each insult and bit my cheek. Pretending I hadn't heard a thing, I let out an audible sigh of relief when the four of them got up to leave that I ran back to their table and grabbed the check before retreating to the back to clock out for the day. My eyes widened as I looked down at the check. Those twins were definitely playing some kind of game, and for whatever reason I was their target. Their bill had been almost $70 and they left me a $60 tip. They had to have been rich or somehow managed to find good-paying jobs. Judging from their incredible looks and their cocky demeanor, I'd guess they were rich. The tip wasn't the most concerning part of the check. What concerned me more, and sent butterflies and nausea rushing through me, was the little note at the bottom of the receipt. "See you soon, doll." A and KI clocked out of work after making quite a bit of money from tips alone. It would definitely help replenish some of the money I had spent on clothes and necessities. While I was happy to be free from work, going home was another situation entirely. When Tori dropped me off, Melissa was still at work for another hour. That left me alone with Frank. I knew he was completely shit-faced the second I walked through the front door. He sat in the recliner watching some fuzzy football match on the TV. His face contorted in anger and I sighed. "Where the fuck have you been?" He spat, struggling to lift himself off the recliner. I tried not to roll my eyes, knowing it only pissed him off more. "Working, Frank." I repeated myself for the 100th time. That I turned to walk up the stairs and escape his drunken tirade when something he said had me turning back around. "Working," he scoffed, wobbling as he stood from the recliner. "You were out whoring around like your fucking mother." This time I did roll my eyes. If he wasn't drunk all of the time, he'd remember that Melissa made me pay for everything myself. I didn't have time to whore around when I was busy supporting myself and going to high school. "Melissa isn't my mother," I snapped, turning to walk up the stairs. His hand wrapped around my wrist and yanked me backwards. While I didn't fall, I did stumble back a few steps. "Get off of me, Frank," I mumbled, my body tensing in fear. The few times he had managed to get this close to me weren't pretty. Frank was always handsy when he was drunk, whether it be abusive or sexual. "Fucking whore," he spat, his alcohol-tinged breath invading my sensitive nose. He yanked me closer to him and I nearly gagged at the sight of his sweat-stained shirt. My entire body felt cold with fear. He was much too close for comfort. I grimaced at the disgusting smell of stale beer and body odor. His grip was tightening around my wrist, and I gritted my teeth against the pain. "I said get off," I screeched, bringing my knee up in between his stubby legs. Frank let out a hiss of pain as his hand dropped my wrist. I could hear his drunken yelling as I ran to my bedroom and slammed the door behind me. I fumbled with the lock through the tears that had sprung up in my eyes. Once the door was successfully locked, I flopped down on my bed and let a few tears trail down my face. Some days were harder than others, but it would all be worth it when I left this place. Over the years, I had quickly lost hope that Melissa would treat me like her own daughter and instead looked forward to escaping the moment I turned 18. I sat on the bed for hours, not daring to move until I heard the front door open and Melissa come inside. It was then I pulled myself off the bed and trudged into the shower. The steaming water hid the tears as they fell from my eyes, and I gave up and let them run freely. I was always extremely aware of Frank's movements in the house, and always needed to be on guard around him. That fact alone was tiring and put me in a perpetual state of paranoia. That I hopped out of the shower feeling completely exhausted, and fell into bed. The morning came around much too quickly. After a few hours of restless sleep, I woke up and changed for school. I put on one of the outfits I had recently bought, a pair of skinny jeans and an off-shoulder long-sleeve shirt. I grimaced down at the handprint bruise left on my porcelain skin and yanked my sleeve down over it as usual. My first and second class of the day was with Tori. We sat and talked while working on our assignments. My next class was the one I was worried about. Cade's comment about cologne at the restaurant had me confused, but I let it flit from my mind shortly after it had happened. Apparently the two of them did not. Cade and Alec both looked equally irresistible. Both of the twins' hair were tousled and had that messy look that other guys struggled to achieve. Cade wore a dark blue button-down shirt, while Alec had on a simple black t-shirt. Cade and Alec sat at our normal table, only this time Alec sat across from Cade. I grimaced to myself, realizing I'd have to sit next to one of them. Cade seemed to be more serious than Alec and sometimes scarier, so I plopped down in the seat beside Alec. Alec smirked at Cade, as if he had won some bet. I kept my eyes averted from the sinfully attractive twins and pretended to be interested in what the teacher was saying. "Did the little doll finish our group project?" Alec teased, his hot breath curling around my ear. A shudder racked through my body and Alex snickered. I clamped my lips shut and ignored him. Of course, I finished the project. I couldn't let the troublesome twins ruin my grade. When I didn't answer, Alex's fingers danced over my shoulder and tickled my collarbone. I sucked in a sharp breath at the tingles that bubbled against my skin under his touch. "Stop!" I hissed. Keeping my gaze on the teacher, I could hear a weird rumbling sound coming from Alec, and the urge to look became overwhelming. My eyes flickered over to Alec, who had a strange glint hidden in his dark orbs. I couldn't understand these insanely gorgeous twins. First, the two of them chose me to pick on. Second, they wanted a reaction from me. Third, when they finally got a reaction, they seemed pissed. "Why don't you make me stop, doll?" Alec gave me a sly grin, his thick fingers running along my exposed collarbone. Just then, the teacher walked around the room collecting the group project we were supposed to complete. Alec's wandering hand retreated to his own body, and I rifled through my binder in search of the project. After handing our project to the teacher, I nearly jumped from my seat as a large hand grasped my thigh. Alec smirked down at me, and I felt my body stiffen. "Where's that feisty little attitude, doll?" His gruff voice was quiet and much too close to my ear that I clamped my teeth down on the side of my cheek, determined not to feed into their bullshit. I wasn't sure if they got off on acting this way, but I wasn't planning on encouraging it. And that's how I sat for the remainder of class, sucking in sharp breaths when Alec's hand traveled where it shouldn't. At one point, his fingers found a strand of my hair and tugged playfully. I had to turn my head to hide the aggressive blush that formed on my cheeks. I quickly noticed that Cade was the quiet one of the two. His eyes were glued on me the entire class. When his blank stare wasn't on me, his eyes flickered to his brother. I swore I could see jealousy burning in his eyes. Such a shame. They wanted to take turns tormenting me. My next class featured Alec, Tori, and Grace. That I was beginning to have a love-hate relationship with this particular class. It wasn't all bad because I got to sit next to Tori, which kept Alec from tormenting me. The downside was Grace and her friends would constantly throw insults my way. For someone who acts like they're bulletproof, her insults sure hurt a lot. That I had been dreading gym class all day. We were split between volleyball and basketball for the next month or so. Sports have always been challenging for me, and as funny as it sounds, the ball always seemed attracted to my face. That I chose the option that didn't include Alec or Cade, which was volleyball. Much to my dismay, Grace happened to choose volleyball as well. My options weren't looking too great. Pick basketball and suffer the intruding touches of the twins, or volleyball and suffer mean comments from Grace. I'd choose mean comments any day. While the medium-sized gym shirt fit me comfortably, they only had a size small in the shorts. I was naturally slim, but my hips flared out along with a full bottom. The shorts constantly rid up my thighs, and in my opinion looked as though they were going to tear at any moment. Thankfully, that weird mesh material gym shorts were made from was typically strong. I somehow managed to survive 15 minutes of dodging the volleyball when something had to happen. Grace had served the ball and someone on the other team had hit it back. The ball was heading straight for my face, and I braced myself for the impact. Instead of getting hit in the face, I was abruptly knocked to the ground. My head bounced against the linoleum floor with a sickening crack. A dazed whimper escaped my lips as my teeth clicked together. "Shit, Aurora. You okay?" Autumn's familiar voice spoke from over me. She had her hand out and I gratefully took it as she pulled me to my feet. The earth wobbled a little and I knew I was going to have a killer headache tomorrow, but I'd survive. "What the hell happened?" I groaned, my fingers grazing the side of my head for any traces of blood. That I turned my attention to Autumn's gaze and looked into the smug eyes of Grace. She was snickering with another one of the girls, and when she caught me looking, she gave me a taunting wave. "Grace happened." I gritted my teeth, answering my own question. That I noticed the rest of the class had stopped playing basketball, and decided to gawk at what just happened. My eyes scanned the other kids until they landed on Alec and Cade. My heart nearly dropped as I took in their sweaty physiques and tousled hair. What made my blood run cold was the murderous glares they were throwing in my direction. "Autumn, take Aurora to the nurse," the gym teacher snapped. "Everyone else get back to playing." A couple whistle blows later and it was as if nothing had happened. Autumn walked me to the nurse's office where we both sat waiting. "I'll be back in a jiffy, honey. Some poor kid threw up in science class." The nurse shuddered and zipped from the room. "At least you're not the only one having a bad day." Autumn's comment was phrased as a question and she let out a little giggle. "Fair point." I chuckled dryly, the side of my head beginning to throb. At least everyone else saw her knock me to the ground. "Not like anything will happen to her," Autumn grimaced. Her lips pressed tightly together. I frowned. "Why the hell not? Everyone saw her knock me down. Since when is that okay?" "Since she's Grace, favorite toy to Cade." Autumn laughed humorlessly. That I shook my head. What the hell is up with these people? How can they not get in trouble? Their parents like to own the town or something. Autumn shrugged, genuinely looking confused. "No one wants to get on their bad side, especially the twins. That needs to change, I muttered. You don't have to sit here with me, you know. Any excuse to miss out on gym is fine with me. Autumn chuckled. How's your head feeling? Like I need a new one. I shook my head. Hopefully the nurse would give me some Advil. Oh, that reminds me. There's a party this Saturday and I want you to come with me. I'll invite Tori too after school. Autumn grinned. Showing a set of white teeth, I shook my head. How did that remind you of a party? Autumn shrugged. No clue, but are you interested? Autumn was one of those girls who seemed to fit into every social group. A lot of her friends were the athletic kids, but Autumn tended to fit in everywhere. I suppose. I shrugged. I only worked 8 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon. That would give me plenty of time to take a shower and get dressed. Great. Autumn grinned. Wear a dress or something. I've got these heels I've been dying to wear. I pursed my lips together, not wanting to interrupt her monologue on shoes. I don't have any dresses. Besides, I'd rather be comfortable. I shrugged. There would be no drinking or smoking for me. I was simply going for a friend. And the last thing I wanted was to stand out. Wait, will the twins be there? I scowled. I definitely wasn't going to show if they were going to come. They never come to our parties. Autumn scoffed. They must think theirs are better or something. Who even throws parties out in the middle of the woods? Weirdos. I raised my eyebrow. That is weird, and slightly murderish. Autumn was forced to go back to class once the nurse returned. She brought a rather green-looking kid into the room and shooed him towards the bathroom. After looking me over for a moment and giving me a couple Advil, thankfully, she told me I could head home. No thanks. I shook my head. A friend drives me home, and I really don't feel like walking. I can always call your mama, Han. The plump nurse gave me a soft smile. I shook my head a little too vigorously, wincing at the pain. No, not necessary. She's working and won't be happy if she gets a call. Well, all right, dear. Just take it easy and drink lots of water. Wouldn't hurt ya to have a doctor check you out. The nurse gave me a weird look but smiled politely. I nodded my head, really wanting to leave. Yup, sure. I'll have a doctor check me out. There wasn't a chance in hell I'd be going to a doctor anytime soon. 1, I had no idea where the closest doctor was, and 2, I'm fairly sure I don't have any insurance that I left the nurse's office before she could say anything else and headed to my locker. I sat in the hallway for another half hour before I found the motivation to pull myself from the floor. Going home early simply wasn't an option. Frank would likely be home and he'd go straight to Melissa if he saw me home early. The bell signaling the end of class rang when I finally stood from the floor. That I moved slowly as I flung my locker open and stuffed my books into the ratty backpack I owned. Once the second bell sounded, kids would begin flooding from class. The familiar yet intoxicating scent of cologne and male sweat filled my nose. I resisted the urge to sigh and slammed my locker shut. Looks like the little doll is having a bad day. Alex smirked, his dark eyes flickering to his brother and finally back to my face. Alex stood on one side of me, much too close I might add. Cade stood on the other side, his dark eyes looking down at my head. How's your head, sweetheart? Cade's voice was rough but the corners of his lips turned down. Their mind games had my head throbbing all over again, and I swore I was going to get whiplash from their mood swings. 1 minute they're calling me names, insulting me. The next minute Alec won't keep his damn hands away from me. Then they hurl death glares my way, only to care about my stupid head later on. Before I could say anything, Cade's rough hand gripped my chin, turning my face to his own. His touch sent a strange shiver down my spine and I shuddered as Alec's breath hit my ear. Cade's other hand was much more gentle than I would have anticipated, only leaving me more confused. His hand reached out gently and touched the spot I had slammed into the gym floor. A hiss of pain left my lips under his touch and I cringed away, pressing my backside closer to Alec. Poor little doll is hurt. Alec murmured in my ear. You know what that means, Cade. We'll make you feel better, sweetheart. Cade's voice was a rough murmur as his fingers held tight on my chin. My heart was hammering in my chest and the urge to run was ever so present in my mind. I was at war with myself. On one hand, I wanted to run, and on the other, I was basking in their gentle touch. In the attention they were giving to me, a yelp of surprise left my lips as Alec's hands grasped my waist. His fingers teased the end of my shirt, grazing the soft skin beneath it. Stop, I muttered, using my hands to push his away. That my hands were swatted away effortlessly as Cade tilted my head to the side. Shoo! His mint-filled breath wafted across my face enticingly. Cade tilted my head to the side with ease and I visibly jumped as a pair of soft lips collided with my neck. What are you doing? I yelped as his lips moved down my neck. To say it felt good would be an understatement. Some hidden part of me wanted to stay in this empty hallway with the two of them forever, no longer plagued with life outside of our little bubble, tormenting me at first chance. Making you feel better, doll, Alec murmured in my ear, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare stomach. Cade was skilled with his mouth. He left little pecks and nibbles down my neck and shoulder, making me gasp in both pain and pleasure. Aurora! Tori's familiar voice echoed down the hall, along with her pattering footsteps. The clock on the far wall showed 2:12 in the afternoon, 2 minutes past the second bell. Faster than I would mentally handle, Cade and Alec retracted themselves from me. "Until next time, sweetheart," Cade murmured in my ear, the light stubble on his face tickling my cheek. I visibly shivered from his rough voice. My eyes were plastered on the smirk his full lips formed that I wanted to kiss the two of them, but I also wanted to shove them both away and run. What kind of mind games were they playing? I was beginning to think we should have stayed in California. The two of them turned and left me alone in the hall. Tori came into view only a second later, a strange look gracing her face. Well, the twins were right about one thing. My headache was a fading memory. The car ride was awkward and silent as Tori flashed me suspicious glances. "You were awful red when I found you in the hall." Tori raised her eyebrow at me that I wanted to tell her the truth, but I knew nothing would come of it. If these twins were really as untouchable as everyone claimed, what good would it come? I was still completely torn about what actually happened. They had touched me against my will, kissed me against my will. If it was all against my will, then why did I enjoy it so much? Why did some part of me want this to happen again? I chalked it up to reasonable insanity and due to the fact the twins were irresistibly hot. After claiming innocence 1,000,001 times, Tori reluctantly stopped interrogating me. I navigated the house carefully, nearly jumping for joy when I saw Frank snoring on the recliner. I flopped down on my bed after finishing some homework and touched my head angrily. It wasn't even sore anymore. A muffled ringing pulled me from the bed and I searched for the crappy phone Melissa had gotten me. Our social worker practically demanded Melissa provide me with a cell phone. So Melissa being Melissa, she got me the lowest quality phone possible. I didn't even know they made those chunky flip phones anymore. The only thing this phone was good for is calling people. "Hello," I sighed, already knowing who was on the other end. The only person who called this phone was the social worker. "Hello, Aurora." Jenny, my social worked for the last couple years, chuckled. "Just calling to check up on you and to see how everything's going." "Everything is the same." I shrugged. "Not bad, just the same." "I'm sorry to hear that, Aurora." Jenny sighed. "It was no secret Melissa never wanted me. We've actually just gotten word your father's been sending checks written out for you, and I wanted to see how they were helping." I snickered. "It's been years and you just got word now? Your father's a pretty private person, it seems." Jenny chuckled. "They should fill up your college fund pretty fast." "Yeah, if I had gotten any of them." I scoffed, rolling my eyes. Melissa was expecting the next check any day now. No doubt she'd make some snide comment once she received it. There was a pause on the other end. "You haven't gotten any of the checks?" "Melissa's gotten them just fine." I shrugged. I had long ago given up on receiving any of the checks. Not that I'd want anything from an absentee sperm donor. Another long pause. "I see." Jenny sounded irritated. "Thanks for the info, Aurora. I'll see what I can do to fix that." "Don't bother." I shook my head. "I haven't gotten any since Grandma died and I really don't feel like hearing Melissa yell at me." "If you say so." Jenny sounded unconvinced. Sleep didn't come easy that night. The twins plagued my dreams as though tormenting me in real life wasn't enough that I woke from sleep with a couple ragged breaths. My dream was set at school, where the twins hurled cruel insults my way. After the insults, they dragged me into a closet and picked up where they had left off in real life, leaving me even more confused that I was jolted from my bed as a crack of lightning split the air. Rain hammered down against the house, and what I once found calming now sounded sinister that I flicked my lamp on and pulled myself from bed. The chill of my room did nothing to cool my heated skin. I could practically feel the goosebumps under the twins' rough touches, as if my dream had been real. Leaning my head against the cool window in my bedroom, I peered out into the rain. We lived in a part of California that was horribly dry for most of the year. Everything about Georgia was green and wet, and I wasn't sure if I found it unsettling or comforting. Another crack of lightning sounded, and I watched entranced at how the lightning sent a flash of yellow across the forest beside the house. Everything was completely dark under the pale light of the moon, but the lightning spotlighted everything before it sent the forest plunging into darkness. I stood with my forehead against the cool glass, my eyes reflecting the brilliant flashes of lightning. Every now and again, the deafening crack of thunder would sound and make me jump a little. I squinted my eyes harder at the forest below me. I couldn't tell if it was the bustling wind, or if something else was rustling the branches below. The lightning only provided seconds of clarity before the darkness returned. I leaped back from the window in shock. The lightning has crashed down, illuminating the forest, and I wasn't sure what I had just seen. Two very large, furry heads poked from the forest. The fur surrounding their intelligent eyes was dark as night. I had only a glimpse at the elongated snouts, but if I had to guess, I would have said they were wolves or a black bear. Did wolves and bears even live in Georgia? What was most unsettling was how the two wolves seemed to be staring directly at my bedroom window that I stayed home from school the next day, feigning sickness. In all honesty, I wasn't mentally prepared for school today. The relentless dreams had woke me up, and the sight of the strange animals had kept me up for the remainder of the night. I knew Melissa wouldn't notice if I stayed home from school. As usual, Frank was the one to look out for. I was determined to spend the entire day in my room, only sneaking out for the occasional bathroom break. I clicked the lock on my door and curled back up in bed. I wasn't sure how long I had slept, but I was beyond grateful it was a peaceful nap. My dreams weren't plagued with Cade and Alec. The day passed quickly and effortlessly, and once 2 o'clock came around, I got dressed for work. It wasn't a long shift. Thankfully, I wasn't entirely sure if Tori would show up to take me to work, especially with me missing school today. Surprisingly, Tori's car pulled into the driveway and I crept downstairs. Frank had his attention on some football game rerun, and I darted from the house. "Where the hell were you today?" Tori frowned. "I wasn't sure if I should pick you up for work or not." I frowned. "Sorry, had a rough night." "Did the storm bother you?" Tori frowned, curling a lock of fire-kissed hair around her finger. I shrugged. "Yeah, it woke me up. I had a hard time falling back asleep. Just needed a break is all. Next time let a girl know." Tori scoffed and shook her head. "I don't exactly have a phone." Pursed my lips. There was no way I planned on pulling out my chunky flip phone. Better no phone than this one. Tori frowned. "You don't have a phone? Can't you just get your own plan?" "I'm not 18 yet." I frowned. "Besides, I need to replenish my savings." Tori seemed perplexed, and it had never occurred to me that she might be one of the many wealthier families in town. "Why do you need to replenish it?" Tori frowned. I chuckled at her confusion. "I've already spent too much money on food, school supplies, and clothes." Isn't that stuff your parents should help with?" Tori grimaced, confirming my assumption about her. I sighed. "It's a long story, but I take care of myself." "That doesn't sound very nice." Tori shook her head. "Not everyone is." I shrugged, hopping out of her car. Thankfully, Tori dropped the topic of conversation and started a new one. Complaining about Kyle was one of her favorite things to do. At one point, I almost thought she had some strange crush on him. Tori reluctantly confessed she had dated Kyle 2 years ago, and learned the hard way when he left her for another girl. The first half of my shift went on perfectly. Around the 4-hour mark, I managed to run into another waitress and splatter Alfredo sauce all over my dark shirt. The manager working at the time gave me another to change into, but unfortunately it was short-sleeved. The bruise I had received days ago was already healing, but now it was an ugly yellow color. Slipped the short sleeve, black t-shirt on in the bathroom. Tying my apron around my waist as I left the bathroom, I slammed into something hard. That something emitted a familiar, intoxicating smell, and I stumbled as I tried to stay on my feet. A pair of warm and rough hands held my shoulders. Steadying me, Alec's stern face looked down on me. His full eyebrow cocked as I had ran into him for the second time. "Well, if it isn't the little doll." Alec smirked down at me, his hands falling to his sides. His unruly and tousled hair hung on his head, a strand falling down to just reach his eyes. He looked like the typical bad boy you'd see in all of the movies, a type of guy I had never been interested in. Until now. "Sorry." I cleared my throat and tried to keep my voice even. Alec and Cade held some unseen power that made me act like a blundering idiot whenever I was around them. "You weren't in school today," Alec pointed out, a serious look on his handsome face. Anger and irritation flashed inside of me. Alec and his brother tormented me, and now he wanted to act concerned? It was clear that the approach I was taking held no effect on their behavior. They wanted me to have a reaction? Fine. Maybe that would bore them and end their strange fixation on me. "I don't see how that's any of your business." I growled at him, glaring into his dark eyes, and I was sure I seemed like a defensive kitten in comparison to Alec's large build. But I didn't care. Everything was beginning to weigh on me, and I wasn't sure how long it would be until my sanity had left me completely. I stepped around Alec and hastily made my way to the kitchens. Not daring to search the room for Cade's intense gaze, I was in the kitchen for a total of 6 minutes when the waitress I had ran into stormed over to me. "What's so special about you?" the waitress snapped. I stared at her dumbfounded. "Sure. I had ran into her by accident, but I apologized for that." She looked me up and down with a sour look on her face. Her hazel eyes pierced my skin with their judgmental gaze. "What?" I scoffed, reacting much too slowly for her liking. The waitress crossed her arms over her chest. "You must think you're so fucking great, huh? I literally have no idea what you're talking about." I snapped back at her, grateful when I saw Tori rushing up to us. "Whoa, what the hell, Cameron?" Tori barked at the caramel-haired waitress. "What's going on?" "I have no clue." I shrugged, trying not to shrink under Cameron's glare. "This is the second time the twins have come in here asking for her specifically." Cameron snapped. As if she's fucking special or something. My mouth ran dry as she said that, and my heart hammered unhappily. By all means, be their waitress. I forced the words out of my mouth. The look of surprise followed by suspicion crossed over Cameron's face. I've already tried. They want you. For a split second, I contemplated quitting my job altogether. But that wouldn't solve anything. Was I really going to let two guys force me from my job? From school? Not a chance. That I left the kitchen with a grumble, my stomach doing flips and my heart racing. I took a moment to collect myself. Hello, sweetheart. Cade smirked as I walked up to their table. Alex sat on the other side, an identical smirk on his face. I gritted my teeth together. What can I get you to drink? The two of them ordered sodas, and I stormed away before they could say any more. It took me only a minute, as we weren't very busy today. IT was always much easier having tables of 3 or less. I hated using those huge trays to carry drinks on. One little misstep and all your drinks would go tumbling over. It was much easier to keep food balanced. Most of my accidents involved drinks. I set both of their drinks in front of them when Cade's rough hand reached out and snatched my arm. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Cade snarled, his rough hand wrapped around my wrist. I leaned over the table uncomfortably while Cade and Alec glowered at the fading yellow bruise that stained my pale skin. It's a bruise, I snapped, trying to yank my arm away from the two of them. Cade's eyes hardened at my defiance, and a yelp escaped my lips as Cade roughly pulled me onto his lap. What are you doing? I hissed, feeling my face flush under the glances of the other customers. I'm at work. Was that really the best I could come up with? I pushed my embarrassing comment to the side, knowing it would keep me up at night. Our family owns this place. No one cares, doll. Alec's full lips turned up in a smirk, but his eyes remained hard. Get off of me, Cade. I hissed, trying to squirm out of his ironclad grip. You might want to stop doing that, sweetheart. Cade chuckled lowly in my heart. A deep rumble emerged from his mouth as I felt something stir against my bottom. I was positive my face was lit up like a Christmas tree right now. Gathering all of the strength I could muster, I pushed myself through his arms and attempted to stand up. I didn't get very far. Cade's arms wrapped around like a vice grip and grounded me back on his lap. Do that one more time and you'll be screaming my name. Cade's husky voice was deep and rich in my ear. Cade and Alec observed me with clouded eyes. Cade held my arm out and Alec touched it gingerly. This didn't happen in gym, Alec pointed out, and I clamped my lips shut. Was it that cook? Cade growled roughly in my ear, his grip on my waist tightening. Was it Kyle? Alec demanded alongside his brother. That I could feel my blood run cold as I worried for Kyle. Kyle was a douche most of the time, but he wasn't a woman beater. No, I sputtered, looking at the two of them incredulously. Kyle had nothing to do with this. What happened to your arm, sweetheart? Cade used his rough hand to turn my face towards the two of them. I grimaced at the both of them, my impatience reaching an all-time high. I don't see how that's any of your business. I huffed at the two of them, was sick and tired of their mind games. Not only was it exhausting me, it was also introducing new and foreign sensations I had never felt before. 1 minute they acted like they hated me, and now they were acting like my well-being actually mattered to them. They didn't act like they had a mere crush on me. This was something different, something possessive. Little doll, Alec chuckled as though I were an innocent and ignorant little girl. It is most certainly our business. You belong to us, sweetheart. Cade's rough voice murmured in my ear, and something strange fluttered in my stomach. I could feel Cade's rough hands tracing circles on my lower back, and I took what would be my only opportunity to run away. I dashed off of Cade's lap and into the kitchens, not daring to look back. What the hell was that, Aurora? Tori's jaw was dropped as she clutched a stack of plates in her hand. I shook my head profusely. I have no idea. My body was quite literally at war with itself. A strange sensation was tingling between my legs, begging me to run back to the twins. For some insane reason, I felt safe and secure with them. While they overwhelmed me, I didn't believe they would ever cause me harm. They pushed my boundaries and made me feel some unexplainable things. On the other hand, they were two guys who quite literally barged into my life and tried to claim me as if I were some object. They didn't treat me like a normal girl whom they happened to have a crush on. What confused me the most was how willing they were to share me. What kind of twins, brothers even, would agree to sharing a girl? And why did I feel the same strange connection with both of the twins? You look sick, Tori pointed out. Setting the dishes aside, I nodded my head. Definitely sick. Let me talk to the manager. I'll drive you home. Tori gave me a sympathetic smile and ran off. She was back only a few seconds later, my jacket in her hands. Let's go. Tori nodded. We can go out the back doors. Relief flushed through me, and I gave Tori a weak smile. Thank you. We slipped into her car and Tori took off without a second thought. You want to tell me what that was? Tori raised her eyebrow at me. Something glinted in the back of her eyes. Something like awareness. I have no idea. I floundered for the words to say. The twins just won't leave me alone. One minute I think they hate me, and the next they act like they have a weird crush on me or something. Tori pursed her lips, as if she wanted to say more. Well, how do you feel about them? I don't know. I shook my head, rubbing my temples against the impending headache I was bound to have. They make me feel strange. Strange. Tori noted with a nod. Strange is better than nothing. You support this? I looked at her wide-eyed. Tori sighed. They're really not bad once you get to know them. I used to be friends with them when I was a kid. That's a lot of time for them to change, Tori. I huffed, shaking my head. Tori frowned. She definitely wanted to say more. Look, I know they can press your boundaries, but they're not bad people. Tori shrugged, dropping the topic for the time being. I appreciate the advice. I nodded. But I think I need to figure this out on my own. Tori dropped me off at home and left after giving me a sympathetic smile. I trudged in the house, ready for a nice hot shower when Melissa stomped up to me. What the fuck did you do? Melissa spat at me, her blonde hair flying wildly behind her. I clamped my lips shut and looked at her blankly. I have no idea. What did I do this time, Melissa? She grimaced at the use of her name. Not that I noticed. I just got a phone call. Your check isn't coming. Melissa spat, slamming her phone down on the counter. Despite my best judgment, I let out a dry chuckle. It's about time. You've been getting them for years. They're not even for you. Your pathetic fucking father ditched me and I got stuck with you. Melissa spat. I deserve the money more than you ever will. I shrugged. If you say so, that won't change anything. I turned and retreated up to my bedroom, hearing Melissa's screaming in the background. I took quite a while in the shower, simply staring at the fading bruise on my arm and contemplating my non-existent relationship with Melissa. I suppose the social worker managed to reach my sperm donor after all. Life is full of surprises.